Hello and welcome to week 5 of the 8-week body transformation challenge. Hope you guys are still doing really well and hitting those goals. What I want you to think about this week is, I know that a couple of you mentioned yesterday that things aren't going so great this challenge. You know, you've lost track of where you are, you've not been able to get those workouts in, you've not been able to eat as well as what you had hoped for. What you need to do is do what you can to turn that around. Start tracking what you're eating. It's the best way to be accountable for yourself. Look at how you can make your meals more nutritious. So putting more nutrient-dense foods into the diet, because that's going to make you feel more energized and more motivated and have a better mindset. And the other thing is, make your workouts a priority. Have a goal in mind about how many workouts you want to achieve that week or how much training you want to do. If it's 2 workouts for the week, write that down, make sure it's done, put it in your diary, make a time, make a commitment, and do it. If it means getting up at 5 a.m. so you can train at 6, then do it, because I'm sure that even though you're tired and you're really not feeling like getting up early, you will feel better afterwards. So get over that little bit of negativity in your head, get it done, and you'll feel better for it. I can promise you that you will. All right? Okay, so onwards and upwards. Do what you can to turn it around and start prioritizing your goals. Make weekly goals if you can. What do you want to achieve that week? Is it that you want to be able to have lost a kilo that week, or do you want to be able to run 5 kilometers one time that week? Something small but achievable, yet challenging at the same time, okay? All right, this week what we are discussing is things that affect weight loss or your weight in general. These are health conditions that I see very often, mostly weekly in clinic, in my naturopath clinic. And these are all things that can affect weight, but not only that, they affect your mood, they affect your ability to shift weight. They might not affect weight, that's just, it does have the potential to. And the other thing it does is it will affect your ability to achieve your goals, because that's there in the background as an ongoing problem, okay? So if that's not treated, then things will not get better on their own. All right, so this week I'll talk about 2 of those conditions, and next week I'm going to talk about the other 2 common conditions that I see every week in clinic. So this week we're going to discuss Candida and also adrenal insufficiency or adrenal fatigue. A lot of the time these go hand in hand with each other as well, and most people I see do have Candida. So it's something that I've really taken notice of this year, and it affects just about everyone, myself included. Okay, so what is Candida? Candida is a bacterial or yeast overgrowth in the gut. It can affect our gut health. It does affect our gut health. It can affect us orally. We can have oral thrush or even vaginal thrush. However, having Candida doesn't mean you have to have those things. So some of the top signs and symptoms of having Candida include fatigue or lethargy, weight gain or the inability to shift weight, mood disturbances, so often low mood is associated, or irritability and anger. Sinus congestion or like facial pressure is a big one that I see in a lot of people. So they feel congested all up underneath the sinuses. Even in the ears, they feel like they need to clean their ears often, or that they're kind of blocked or clogged or have wax in them, even though they don't. But there's just that congestion in there that you can feel, which is often associated with Candida overgrowth. The other thing it can do is you could have white mucus in your stools or bowel movements. It can lead to constipation. It can go diarrhea as well, but a lot more often it is constipation that is associated. Headaches, you'll often get headaches. You can get pins and needles easily, so it affects your circulation. So even when you feel like you shouldn't have pins and needles, so say sitting there with your legs not crossed and then your toes start to go numb, or you get carpal tunnel through the night, that sort of thing. What else? They are the main ones. Body aches and pains is another, and then of course your weight as well. So they're the signs and symptoms that are associated with Candida. Thrush is also associated, and UTIs, urinary tract infections, and also rashes and allergy reactions are very much associated to Candida. So with that, what we do as a naturopath is we look at killing off the Candida. We need to stop feeding it what it feeds off. So it's a yeast or a fungus that is a yeast, and basically it feeds off of sugar. So even though you will generally get sweet cravings that are really difficult to control, you might even not really think that you're eating anything sweet, but even just fruit and carbohydrate or high carbohydrate foods, they turn into sugar, and that's what feeds the Candida. So the more we eat of what it feeds off, the harder it is going to be to kill. What we need to kill it is to stop feeding it, but also antifungal and antibacterial herbs. Sometimes they can be treated with strong antibiotic or antifungal treatment. However, when we use that too often, it can make it actually more inclined to grow and thrive in our body. So it's actually really quite difficult to kill. It generally takes about 10 to 12 weeks at least. That's if you're good with your diet. If you continue to feed it, it's going to take a lot longer to die. But yeah, so as a naturopath, we look at killing the Candida first and foremost, because it affects everything else that goes on in your body. You're not going to have the energy that you need. Also, if you're iron deficient along with that, if you don't kill the Candida or even parasites, you can't get your iron levels up and keep them up unless you kill that bacteria first, because the bacteria thrives off of iron and your nutrients. So we look at killing that off for at least 10 to 12 weeks, and then working on repairing the gut lining, because we know that bacterial overgrowth create leaky gut or intestinal permeability. And then what we want to do after we do that is feed that good bacteria to repopulate it, and we also want to replace the beneficial bacteria, any that we have killed in that cleanse phase of your gut work. So that's a little bit about Candida. If you were like, oh my gosh, I have all of those signs and symptoms, I need to do something about that, let me know, because I do love to work with clients to treat Candida, just because I know it affects myself, it affects my family, and it's something that I see so much, and I just know how badly it affects so many people. So without treating that first and foremost, you won't get the best results you can possibly get unless that's treated. The other condition that I see a lot of is adrenal fatigue or adrenal insufficiency. With adrenal insufficiency, so our adrenals are what produce cortisol in the body in relation to stress. Our adrenals also produce energy in the body. So the more stressed out we are and the more cortisol that our adrenals pump out in relation to stress, the harder they're working, the more inclined they are to diminish in their productivity or their functionality, and they become quite sluggish and don't function as well as they should, because they're worn out from working so hard for such long periods of time. So we get adrenal insufficiency in relation to, it can be post-viral, so if we've had something like pneumonia or can't even think of the name, Epstein-Barr virus, those sort of things, what can happen is adrenal fatigue will hit us and it'll come back and forth. It might go away for periods of time, but then it comes back and gets us again when we're least expecting it, or when that stress begins to rise again. So we definitely feel the effects of adrenal fatigue when we are more stressed out. The less stress that we have, or the more that we help to manage stress, the better our adrenals can function. Therefore, the better energy levels we can have. Therefore, when it comes to our workouts, the more inclined we are going to be to put in more effort and get better results. And the other thing is workouts, especially high intensity workouts or long periods of training. So if you're trying to train for a marathon, for example, or you are a runner, this can actually worsen our adrenal functioning. So because running and long distance cardiovascular fitness in general tends to produce quite a lot of cortisol in the body. So what happens then is their function gets worse, and then that affects our stress, energy, the way we feel, our moods, and it also affects whether or not we achieve our goals when it comes to weight loss, because especially when our body is in fight or flight mode and it is stressed out to the max, our adrenals aren't functioning well, the last thing your body's going to want to do is shed weight. So unless you're supporting and nourishing and helping your adrenals out, the weight is going to be the last thing to go if that's an issue for you. Now, that too can go the other way. I do know of people who, when they're stressed out, they lose a lot of weight. However, for the most of us, the majority of us, it tends to go the opposite way, and we tend to put on weight, we emotionally eat, we feel really low in our moods, we feel low in our energy, we feel stressed, we feel anxious, we might feel depressed, our sleep will suffer. We generally hit a 3 p.m. energy slump, or we might hit energy slumps after every meal. We might have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. You might wee more frequently, have headaches, have sugar or salt cravings, especially around that 3 p.m. time frame. And the other thing is we're not going to feel like exercising or eating well, because when we are in that fight or flight mode, generally we're leading very busy lifestyles, and the last thing we're really concerned about is making up a nice nutritious meal or putting time aside to exercise, because we are too stressed out to even think about that or have the time to actually do it. So the best thing we can do is provide our body and our adrenals with nutrients that it requires to work more efficiently. And our adrenals thrive off of vitamin C, also your B vitamins. Our B vitamins help our bodies to produce energy and also help support a healthy stress response in the body. So too does magnesium. So magnesium, B vitamins, vitamin C, are our key adrenal nutrients. And then we have herbs, which are really beautiful for the adrenals and help to nourish them and help us to support a nice healthy stress response, put us in a calm mode, so we're not like just buzzing and going from one thing to the next constantly. So even though that generally tends to be our lifestyle these days as women, mums, dads, working parents, whatever you may be, when we are quite stressed, generally our lifestyles are very busy, and it's really quite difficult to get on top of the stress and start supporting our adrenals as best we can. So the herbs, are your withania, rehmannia, lemon balm, what else? Siberian ginseng, rhodiola, schizandra. None of these herbs should be taken without prescription, because you never know whether it might affect you or the medications that you're on. So always, if you do feel like adrenal insufficiency might be an issue, for you, definitely come and see me or ask me questions if you need to, and I'll be happy to help. The other thing to consider here is lifestyle measures. So yes, exercise will help because it helps to de-stress our body. It helps to produce endorphins afterwards and put us in a better mood and mindset. However, if we're going to flog ourselves every day for an hour or more, on top of everything else that we're going to do, and not have any time to rest or recuperate, our adrenals are going to struggle that much more. And you could be worsening, you could be affecting your progress in your goals by doing too much and not actually looking after your adrenal health. Okay, so lifestyle measures to consider with that too are, things that help lifestyle-wise are your Epsom salt baths because they contain magnesium, great way to be absorbed through the skin. Half a cup in your bath, maybe at least twice a week, once if you're lucky, so even just once if you can manage that. Another thing is to meditate or do breathing exercises because that helps to get us out of that fight or flight mode. Gentle exercise or shorter periods of exercise where you're not exercising for too long and it's not too strenuous. So, anything more than an hour, more than 5 days, 4 days a week is probably going to be a bit much if you are already adrenally fatigued. What else? Journaling can help. So Epsom salt baths, journaling, meditation, breathing exercises, and then of course, your gentle exercise. So walking, weights, short, higher intensity exercise that doesn't last too long is really good for our adrenal health too. Okay, so I think that about covers it. We talked about what adrenal insufficiency or adrenal fatigue looks like, as well as what Candida looks like. This has been a really long chat, so I hope you guys have stayed on board for the whole 18 minutes. But keep that in mind, and if it is something that is making you not achieve your goals or getting in the way of you achieving your goals, make sure you come and see me. I'm happy to help as a naturopath, but I just thought it was really important that we know these things so then we are able to address them and move forward. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that chat and have learnt something new today. Have a great week, and don't forget to turn your week around if you're not feeling it by doing something productive towards your goals. Okay. Alright guys, have a great week, and I'll talk to you again next week. Bye.